In the news today, there's an article entitled Lockdown, Dlamini Zuma pushes for tobacco alcohol ban to continue until level 1. Now, I'm sure that many people in South Africa, especially people that enjoy having some alcohol and people that are smokers, will be up in arms over this because there's a big difference between level 3 and level 1 and the time period that it will take for us to get to level 1. But let me read what it says in the article and the arguments that are given for this idea. Cooperative Governance Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has told the National Coronavirus Command Council that the sale of tobacco and alcohol should continue to be banned until the country reaches level 1 of the lockdown. News 24 was reliably told that Dlamini Zuma was supported by Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi when she told the NCCC this week that she believed it would be too much of a health risk to allow the sale of cigarettes and alcohol on 1st of June, when the country is expected to go to level 3 of the nationwide lockdown. It is interesting that it seems like this decision has more to do with policy than it has anything to do with the coronavirus pandemic itself, because she is saying that the health risk of drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes, is actually at play here instead of the prevention of the spread of the virus. That wasn't mentioned at all. This prompted a debate in a meeting chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa. So our president was present in this meeting with no resolution on the matter. So they couldn't take a decision. These are the top decision-making people during this time where a state of disaster is declared and they can't make decisions. A high-ranking insider with intimate knowledge of the meeting said Dlamini Zuma had come prepared with academic papers that argued against the sale of tobacco and alcohol during the COVID-19 pandemic, citing health risks, which means as long as the COVID-19 pandemic is declared a pandemic, she is completely against the sale of alcohol and any form of tobacco. Now, I would have loved to see the papers that she actually came up with, these academic papers that they speak of, that she presented to this council and how they actually handled that and challenged her on it, if at all. This is despite an agreement that government would lift the restrictions on the sale of tobacco under level 3. I'm not exactly sure where this agreement or prior agreement came from or where the understanding came from. Those who opposed the proposal led by Dlamini Zuma argued that a pandemic was not the time to make policy decisions, as both the tobacco and alcohol industries were not banned, they were simply regulated. And it's important to understand what the word liberty means and freedom to actually choose to exercise your right to do something. Now, I'm not a proponent of drinking alcohol or smoking. I have never smoked in my life and I've never had alcohol in my life. I do believe that other people have the liberty to decide whether they want to drink alcohol and smoke or not, as long as they're not influencing or affecting other people. And the regulations within that industry takes care of that. So it's clearly an overstepping of government's jurisdiction with this council that is unconstitutional to make decisions such as this, especially policy-like decisions. There is no finality, it reads. A reliable insider said that even Health Minister Zweli Mkhize, who initially supported the ban, seemed to have come to terms with the fact that cigarettes and alcohol should be allowed with strict conditions under level 3. So it looks like even he is coming to his senses. There was no decision on the matter, the source said, and that is the problem. When you have a command council is there to make quick and accurate decisions. The problem is the people in the command council are not capable of doing that, as is clear. The discussion goes on and there is no finality, the insider said, which means that our president has no capability of making decisions or heading that council or actually putting his foot down and saying what should happen, what he believes should happen. And I think it's quite bad that our president would allow other people to make decisions for him at this time. This is not the first time the NCCC has heard lively discussions around the ban on tobacco and alcohol. An announcement by Ramaphosa to allow the sale of those products under Level 4 was rescinded days later after vehement opposition led by Dlamini Zuma. The Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association has challenged government's decision in court, and the presidency and Dlamini Zuma have until next Tuesday to provide the record of the decision and the reasons why tobacco was banned in the first place. Dlamini Zuma's spokesperson, Mlungisi Mchali, said he could not comment on matters currently before the NCCC. Efforts to get comment from Motsoaledi was also unsuccessful. This will be added should News 24 receive it, and I will update you on it. Just remember to subscribe so that you could get the further updates, and you can click on the bell button to actually get notifications when I make a new in the news video. Hairdressers and restaurants, it carries on, and what is allowed. The NCCC has also heard arguments calling for the reopening of hairdressers and salons under Level 3. And then it says that more than 8,000 people have made inputs to government calling for the reopening of salons and hairdressers. This is just one section of the industries out there that's suffering badly. I'm not even speaking of the entertainment industry, where events have been stopped worldwide, where there's no income currently, where no crowds can gather into the foreseeable future. That entire industry will not be able to go to work almost indefinitely at this stage. But I want to get back to the concept of liberty, the freedom to choose, and the motivation that a council needs to give people to actually adhere to the regulations that they are imposing on the people under this state of disaster. Remember, I've mentioned before that we are still a constitutional democracy, that we're not in a state of emergency, that normal rule of law still applies, and that the Bill of Rights that every one of us has a right to claim is still in force at this stage. And as long as a Bill of Rights is in force, people are allowed to act within those rights. And for Dlamini Zuma to come up with ideas and concepts that has got nothing to do with the pandemic itself, and saying that the health risks, which she has no right to decide over for other people, needs to be in her hands now, and use the pandemic to actually make policy decisions, is disingenuous and very problematic. I would ask you to please share this video with your friends and family, and think about the fact that your liberty has been taken away while we are still only in a disaster situation, and while we are still a constitutional democracy. And speak out about what our government is doing at this point in time, and become aware of your rights as an individual person. And you certainly have the right to smoke or enjoy alcohol if you so please.